You set an intention. You promise yourself, this time will be different. You'll be more patient, more disciplined, more consistent. You'll wake up for Fajr. You'll control your temper. You'll stop wasting time. And for a moment, you mean it. You really do. But then the same pattern returns. You delay what you know you should. You react. You meant to stay calm. You scroll when you meant to be productive. You fall back habits you swore quit. And afterwards, this quiet, I knew better. So why didn't I do better? You think the problem is willpower. You're just weak, that you lack discipline, that if you just tried harder, forced yourself more, pushed through the resistance, finally change. But it's not work. You keep failing. You're starting to believe, may you're just broke, may you're just not cut out this, may change isn't possible for you.
But that's not the problem. The problem is there's a voice in your head that sounds exactly like you. It uses your logic. It knows your weaknesses. It speaks in your tone, and it's not serving you. It's your Nuffs, your ego, your lower self, your impulse, and it's sabotaging every good intention you have. Not dramatic, not obviously, quiet. In 1,000 small choices you make every day without realizing you're led. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve a break. They disrespected you first. You'll start tomorrow. All of it sounds reasonable, logical, like your thoughts. But it's not you making those decisions. It's your Nafs. And you're obeying it without even knowing it's not you. This isn't about willpower. This is about awareness. Because you can't control what you can't recognize. And right now, you don't know when your Nafs is speaking. Learn to spot it and everything changes. You think you're making conscious choices, but there's a voice narrating your decision. Constant, I deserve this. I'll start tomorrow. They disrespect first. Just this once won't matter. It sounds like you. It uses your logic, your reasoning, your voice. But it's not you, it's your Nafs. In Islam, the Nafs is your ego, your lower self, your impulse. It's the part of you that wants what it wants when it wants it. Like a child that doesn't understand delayed gratification, doesn't care about consequences, just wants comfort, pleasure, immediate relief. And when left unchecked, it runs your life. But here's the thing, the Nafs isn't evil. It's not some demon inside. It's just undisciplined, untrained. And because it's part of you, it sounds like you. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't say, I'm your ego speaking. It disguises itself as your thoughts, your logic, your needs. That's why it's so effective. You obey thinking you're making a conscious choice, but you're not. You're being led. You're lying in bed. Alarm goes off for Fajr. And immediately the voice, you're so tired, rest. 5 minutes won't hurt. Allah is merciful. You can make it up later. Sounds reasonable, right? Sounds like you thinking logically about your needs, but it's not. It's your Nafs. And you obey it, you hit snooze, you miss Fajr, and later you're guilty. But in that moment, you genuinely thought you were making a reasonable decision. Or you're about to do something productive, start that project, clean the house, exercise, and the voice, not in the right mindset. Do it better tomorrow. Just relax for now. You've had a hard day. Again, sounds logical, sounds like self-care, but it's your Nafs. Avoiding discomfort, choosing ease over effort, and you believe it's you because it's using your voice. Or someone criticizes you, and instantly the voice, dare, they don't know what you've been. You need to correct them, to defend yourself. You can't let this slide. Sounds like self-respect, right? Sounds like standing up for yourself. But it's your Nafs protecting your ego, and you react. You say things you regret because in that moment your Nafs convinced you that reacting was the right to do. This is how it operates. It doesn't do obviously wrong things. It frames everything as reasonable, justified, necessary. And because it sounds like you, don't question it. You just obey. The voice in your head justifies, defends, and rationalizes. That's your Nafs. The Nafs isn't stupid. It's actually very intelligent. It doesn't tell you to do obviously wrong things. It's smarter than that. It uses your intelligence, your knowledge, even your faith to justify what it wants. It sounds logical, reasonable, sometimes even spiritual. And that's what makes it. You're scrolling when you should be working. Your Nafs doesn't waste time. It says, need a mental break. You've been working just minutes to recharge. Sounds healthy, right? Self-care. Except 5 becomes an hour. And you're not recharged, you're more drained. But your Nafs framed it as wisdom. So you obey. You're about to pray. Your Nafs doesn't say skip prayer. It says you're not in the right state of mind. You're too distracted. Prayer requires focus. Maybe wait until you can be more present. Sounds spiritual. Sounds sounds like you care about the quality of your worship, but it's a trap, because that right state of mind never comes, and you delay and delay until the prayer time passes. You snap at your spouse. Your nafs doesn't be cruel. It says they need to hear this. You're just honest. Communication is important. If you don't say it now, resentment builds. Sounds like health relationship advice, but it's not. It's your nafs justifying cruelty as honesty, aggression as communication, and you believe it because it sounds smart. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, called the struggle with the nafs the greater jihad, not a physical battle, the internal one. He said it's greater than fight enemies on a battle. Why? Because it's constant, it's invisible, and it uses your own mind against you. The smarter you are, the better nafs is at justifying itself, because it has more tools to work with, more knowledge to twist, more logic hijack. It doesn't argue against you. It works with your intelligence. It starts what it wants. Comfort, ego protection, immediate gratification, then works backwards to find a logical justification, and you believe because it sounds like you thinking clearly. You know you should apologize, but your nafs says, why should you go first? They were wrong. If you apologize now, you're admitting defeat. Stand ground. Sounds like self-respect, but it's ego. Your nafs protect itself from the vulnerability of admitting fault. You see someone succeed, your nafs whispers, Aki, they had connection. It's not really merit. You think you're just being realistic, observant. Your nafs can't handle someone else winning, so it diminishes their success to protect ego. You're about to give charity. Your nafs says, you work hard for this money. You have bills. You need to be responsible. Give more secure. Sounds like financial wisdom. Your nafs holding tight to what it has, and it sounds so reasonable, you don't question it. This is trap. Your nafs doesn't sound like a villain. It sounds like you thinking logic, making wise decisions, and you obey over and over without ever realize you're led. Your nafs doesn't argue against you. It uses your own logic to convince you. The nafs doesn't win in dramatic moments. It doesn't to commit major sins. It wins in small, invisible choices. Tiny moments where you obey without noticing. And each small obedience, strength makes it louder, more convincing, more automatic. You were going to wake up for Fajr. Your nafs whispers. You were going to stay calm during that conversation. Your nafs says, correct now, obey. You were going to start that project today. Your nafs says, tomorrow you'll be more motivated, obey. None of these feel like major failure. They're small, insignificant. You barely notice them, but the nafs thrives in the ordinary. It doesn't need big sins, it just small obedience. 1,000 times a day, and before you know it, your entire life is run by impulse disguised reason. You see someone succeed, your nafs whispers, they don't deserve. You work harder. You think it's just an observation, but it's envy, and you don't even recognize as your nafs, because it sounds like you just being honest. You're about to apologize. Your nafs says, why should you go first? You weren't the only one wrong. Sounds like fairness, but it's ego protecting itself from vulnerability. And you listen. The apology never happens. The relationship stays broke because your nafs convinced you that being right matters more than being connected. You're about to be generous, give charity, help someone. Your nafs says that you've worked hard, you deserve to keep this. Sounds like responsibility, financial wisdom, but it's greed. Your nafs hoarding, and it frames it so well. Act virtuous, giving. You're about to be productive. Your nafs says you're not inspired right now. Wait until you feel motivated. You'll do better work then. Sounds like self-awareness, but it's avoidance. Your nafs running from discomfort, and that right time never comes, because your nafs will always find a reason to delay. Here's what's terrifying. You can go through an entire day, an entire life, obeying your nafs in 1,000 small moments and never once realize it's not you making those choices. You think you're reasoning, deciding, choosing, but you're just following impulse dressed up as logic. Every delay, every justification, every rationalization, every defensive reaction, every moment of avoidance, nafs, and you didn't even see, because it sounds like you, uses your voice, your intelligence, your value, turns them all against your own goal. Your nafs doesn't big sins, it just needs small obedience 1,000 times. Islamic scholars identified stages of the nafs, 4 main states. And where you are on this spectrum determines how much control you actually have over your life. Most people never past stage 1. They spend their entire lives stuck there, obeying their nafs, feeling bad about, then obey again. Stage 1, the commanding nafs, nafsul ammara. This is where most people live. The nafs commands, you obey. Impulse leads, awareness is minimal. You want something, you take it. You feel anger, you react. You feel discomfort, you avoid. There's no pause between impulse and action. The nafs says do this and you do it. Sometimes you feel guilty afterward, but in the moment itself, you're not even aware you had a choice. You hit snooze, you scroll endlessly, you snap at people, you procrastinate, you indulge, and afterward you think, why did I do that? But you do it again tomorrow because you're in stage 1. The nafs command, you obey. Repeat. Stage 2, the reproaching nafs, al-lawama. This is where awareness starts. You begin to feel the gap between what you did and what you wanted to do. Regret shows up. Not just guilt, actual reflection. I could have handled that better. I didn't need to react that way. Why do I keep doing? This stage is uncomfortable because now you see the problem, but you don't yet have the tools to stop it consistently. You catch yourself after the fact, not during. You recognize your nafs after you already obeyed. And that awareness can feel like failure, but it's not. It's progress. You can't fix what you can't, and you're starting to see. Most people get stuck between stage 1 and 2. They oscillate. Obey their nafs, feel bad, obey again, feel bad again. They never forward because they don't understand what's actually happening. The problem is willpower. So they beat themselves up, try harder, fail again, and the cycle continues. Stage 3, the inspired nafs. Here's where real change happens. You start catching your nafs while it's speaking, not after, during. You feel the impulse to react, pause. You hear the justification, you recognize as nafs. You notice the urge and you don't automatically obey. This doesn't never fail, means you're aware. You see the choice. Some you choose wise, some you don't, but you're no longer blind. Your nafs using its visibility, and the moment it's seen, it weakens. Stage 4, the tranquil nafs. This is surrender, not in a defeated way, peaceful way. Your nafs no longer running the show. Awareness is. You still feel impulses, but they don't control you. You can observe them without obeying. Content, trusting, at peace. Not because life is easy, but because you're no longer at war with yourself in turn. Most people never reach stage. That's fine. It's not about perfection. It's about, the question isn't, have I mastered my nafs? The question is, am I more aware today than I was yesterday? And here's the truth. You can't skip stage. You can't go from stage 1 to stage 4 overnight. You have to learn to recognize your nafs. That's stage. And most people never get there because they don't know what to listen for. They don't know that the voice in their head isn't always them. You can't defeat your nafs, but you can graduate from obeying it blind to recognizing it clearly. Here's the secret. The nafs loses power the moment you recognize. It thrives in darkness, operate below your conscious awareness, disguise itself as you, but the second you spot, that's my nafs, to weakness. Not because you fought, you saw it. Ibn Arabi, great Islamic scholar, taught that awareness is light, and light weakens the nafs. You don't defeat it, force, illuminate it. When you see clearly, it can't deceive you anymore because its power was never in its strength. Its power was in its invisibility. So how do you spot it? Ask question. In moments of choice, before you act, pause and ask, voice is this mine or my nafs? Am I choosing this consciously or react impulsively? If I were advising someone else in this situation, would I tell them this? Is this serving who I want to be or just what feels good right now? These questions create space a gap, impulse and action. And in that gap, awareness can return. You're about to send an angry text. Pause. Is this me or my nafs? The urge to defend yourself, to attack, to correct them, that's almost always nafs. Your ego protecting itself. If you recognize it as nafs, you can choose not to send, not because you suppress the anger, but because you saw it for what it was and it lost its authority. You're delaying something important. Pause. Is this wisdom or my nafs avoid discomfort? Sometimes rest is wise, but of avoidance. Your nafs running from effort. If you spot it, you can choose differently, not force clarity. You're justifying something you know is questionable. Pause. Is this logic or my nafs rationalized? When you start listing reasons why something's okay, that's usually your nafs. Building a case, defending an impulse, you see it, the justification collapses because it was never sound logic, it was your nafs talk. Here's what happens when you practice this consistent. You start catching your nafs early. At first you notice it after already obeyed, then you notice it during the action, then you notice it before you act, and eventually you notice it the moment it speaks. And when you notice it that quickly, it has no time to build its case, no time to hijack your logic. You just see it, and seeing it is enough. The nafs is like a child throwing a tantrum. If you react to it, it escalates. If you suppress it, it finds another way out. But if you just observe it, I see you're upset, I'm not obeying this time, it eventually quiets down. Because tantrums only work when they get attention. Your nafs doesn't want to be seen. It wants to operate in the background, invisible, automatic. The moment you shine light on it, it loses power. Not forever. It will come back. But each time you recognize it, it gets a little weak, a little less convincing, a little easier to resist. The nafs can't survive being seen. Spot it and it loses power instant. Here's what most people get wrong. They think the goal is to destroy the nafs, to kill it, eliminate it, but you can't. As long as you're alive, your nafs exists. It's part of the goal. Isn't elimination, it's discipline. Think of your nafs like a powerful horse. Untrained, it throws you wherever it wants to go. It's wild, unpredictable, dangerous, but trained, it carries where you go. The same strength that was working against you now works for you. The nafs doesn't disappear. It just learns to follow instead of lead. Ibn Arabi taught that hating your nafs only gives it another disguise. You start hating yourself, feeling ashamed, despair, and that becomes another form of ego. Spiritual pride disguised as humility. I'm terrible, I'm the worst. That's still your nafs, just wearing a different mask. The nafs isn't destroyed through hostility. It's trained through awareness and consistency. You don't fight with force, you guide clarity. When you notice your nafs speaking, you don't have to obey. You also don't have to attack. You just, that's my nafs. I see. I'm not obeying. Not with anger, not with self-hatred, just with calm recognition. Like a parent correcting a child. Firm, but not cruel. Clear, but not harsh. You feel anger rise. Instead of suppress, builds pressure, or exploding, feeds the nafs. Pause. My nafs wants me to react right now. I'm going to wait till I'm calm. That pause, small as it seems, discipline, not force, through awareness. You feel the urge to scroll endlessly. Instead of fighting the urge, which makes it stronger, or giving in immediately, which trains the nafs to always get what it wants, delay. I'm going to wait 5 minutes. If I still want to scroll after that, I can. Often the urge passes. Because it was never that strong. It was just immediate. And immediacy is the nafs's weapon. The nafs learns through repetition, just like any habit. Every time you recognize it and don't obey, you're training it, teaching it that impulse doesn't equal action. That urges don't have to follow. That you, your conscious awareness, are in charge, not it. And every time you obey without noticing, you're training it the opposite way. Teaching it that it's in control, that its voice is your voice, that impulse equals action, and it gets stronger, louder, more automatic. It's not about perfection. You'll fail. You'll obey your nafs sometimes, even when you see it clearly. That's fine. What matters is consistency. Are you recognizing it more often than you used to? Are you pausing more than you used to? Are you choosing consciously more than you used to? That's growth, not perfection, growth. Don't fight your nafs. Train it through awareness, not you blame circumstances. If my job was better, I'd be patient. If my spouse was different, I'd be calm. If I had more money, I'd be content. If my kids listened, I'd be kind. You're waiting for the world to change so you can be who you want to be. But the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, the greater jihad, the greater struggle is with the nafs. Not with the world, not with other people, not with your circumstances, with your own self, your own impulses, your own ego. That's the real battle. You can change your entire life. New job, new city, new relationships, new circumstances, and still carry the same pattern, still react the same way, still fall into the same trap, because the problem isn't external, it's your nafs. And your nafs travel with you wherever you go. You think, if only they would stop provoking me, I wouldn't get angry. But that's your nafs. Blame externals, because if it's their fault, you don't have to change. You can stay exactly as you are and just wait them. You think, if only I had better circumstances, I'd be more disciplined. But that's your nafs convincing you the problem is out there, so you never have to look in here. You stay stuck, waiting for perfect conditions that will never come. Allah says in the Quran, indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. The change starts inside, not with your circumstances, with your awareness of your nafs, with your recognition of the voice that's been leading you away who you want to be. You can't control what happens to you, but you can recognize when your nafs is react and choose not to obey. Someone disrespect, you can't control that, but you can recognize your nafs screaming, defend yourself, attack back, don't let this slide, and choose silence instead. Not because you're weak, because you're aware. Your project fails, you can't control that, but you can recognize your nafs spiraling into despair, blaming everyone or quitting entirely, and choose to keep going anyway. Not because you're ignoring reality, because you're not letting your nafs interpret reality for you. You don't get what you wanted, you can't control, but you can recognize your nafs demanding, this isn't fair, you deserved better, Allah isn't listening, and choose gratitude anyway, trust anyway, surrender anyway. Not because you're pretending, because you're choosing trust over impulse. This is real struggle. Not out there, in here. Not with the world. Voice in your head keeps convincing you the problem is external, that you're fine, that if circumstances just change, everything will be okay. But it won't, because you're taking your nafs with you everywhere you go. And until you learn to recognize it, it will keep sabotaging, no matter how perfect circumstances become. The real battle isn't out there. It's the voice in your head. Keep obeying without question. You set intent to mean them, but the same pattern return. You delay what you know you should do. You react meant to stay calm. You fall back to habit. You swore you'd quit, and you think you're weak, that you lack discipline, that you'll never change. But you're not weak. The problem isn't willpower. The problem is you don't recognize your nafs. That voice in your head that sounds like you but isn't serving you. The voice that justifies every delay, rationalizes every reaction, defends every impulse. The voice that hijacks your intelligence and uses it against your own goals. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve this. They disrespected you first. You'll start tomorrow. This is justified. All of it sounds reasonable, logical, like your thoughts, but it's not you making those decisions. It's your nafs, and you've been obeying it without realizing it's not you. Your nafs uses your logic against you. It doesn't argue against what you believe. It starts with what it wants, then works backwards to find justification. And because it sounds like you don't question, you just obey. In 1,000 small choices every day, each one insignificant, but together they run your life. Most people spend their entire lives in stage 1, the commanding nafs. Impulse speaks, they obey. Feel bad, obey again. They never move forward because they don't know they're stuck. They think the voice is them, so they never question, never pause, never create space between impulse and action. But the nafs loses power the moment you recognize it. It thrives in darkness, in invisibility. But the second you see it, that's my nafs talking, it weakens, not because you fought it, because you illuminated it. And light is what the nafs can't survive. So you learn to spot it. You ask questions. Whose voice is this? Mine or my nafs? Am I choosing this or reacting? Is this serving who I want to be or just what's good now? That pause, that moment of awareness is where your power lives. Not in fighting the nafs with force, but in seeing it with clarity. And you don't destroy it. You can't. As long as you're alive, it exists. You train through consistency, through awareness, through recognizing it and choosing not to obey. Over and over until the nafs learns that impulse doesn't equal action, that it's not in charge, that you are. The real struggle isn't out there. It's not your circumstances. It's not other people. It's the voice in your head convincing you the problem is external. So you never have to look internal and you stay stuck waiting for the world to change, when what needs to change is your awareness of what's leading. Ya Allah, I'm blind to my own nafs. I thought those justifications were my thoughts. I thought those reactions were my choices. I thought that voice was me, but it wasn't. My nafs has been leading me and I didn't even see it. Open my eyes. Help me recognize when my nafs is speaking. Give me the awareness to spot it before I obey it, and give me the disciplined pause to not react, to choose you over my impulse. I control what I can't see, so let me see it clearly. Every time it speaks, every time it justifies, every time it leads me away from you, strip away the disguise. Show me the difference between my conscious choice and my nafs command. And when I recognize, give me the strength not to obey, not through force, awareness, through light. Because the nafs can't survive being seen. So let me see it, and let that seeing be enough to weaken its grip. Train my nafs the way you train your servants, with patience, with consistency, with mercy, not through self-hatred, through self-awareness. Ameen. Today, practice this. Before you react, before you justify, before you decide, pause, one breath, and ask yourself, is this me or my nafs? That one question asked consistent will change everything, because your nafs can't survive, and the moment you see it, you're no longer under its command. You're not weak, you're just obeying a voice. Thought, learn to tell the difference.